Hello, fellow coffee consumers and crime connoisseurs. Welcome to the 6th episode of Mugshot Mornings, where we explore true crime one sip at a time. On today's episode, we'll be discussing one of the first phrogging cases surrounding by Daniel LaPlante. Daniel LaPlante's case is one of the most chilling and bizarre criminal stories in American history. Born in 1970, LaPlante's troubled childhood, marred by abuse and neglect, set the stage for his disturbing behavior. As a teenager in the mid-1980s, LaPlante's criminal activities escalated from petty theft to breaking into homes. His actions took a darker turn in 1987, when he brutally murdered Priscilla Gustafson and her 2 young children in their home. LaPlante's case continues to captivate and horrify, serving as a grim reminder of the depths of human depravity. Inevitably, he started the trend of phrogging without even meaning to. So, before we get started, of course, let's get into our coffee talk and some updates about what's going on in my life. So, I got here, it's not Starbucks, I swear. They gave me like the smallest straw known to man, and it literally got lost, and I had to dig it out with my fingers, like a little disgusting little rat. Calling myself a rat. I went back to that hut that I told you about, I think 2 episodes ago, Coffee with a Cause, and I got me a iced Cracker Jacks. So it's caramel and hazelnut, and I added caramel cold foam to it, and it's iced with oat milk. It is so freaking good. I was not expecting it. I always have to ask for extra ice because they give you like 4 ice cubes. But yeah, this is smacking. They also, I'm assuming, ran out of like their cold foam tops because they gave me a frap top. And I like to sip the cold foam when I sip my coffee, so now I just kind of look like I have a frap. And I'm not a frap girl. And I do love me a good, just normal black cold brew. I was just not feeling it today. I needed it because I just feel like I'm lagging today, which is just like not the move. So I do have a small update. We got a new dog. So he's a puppy. He's a blue heeler. He was dumped on the side of the road, which just absolutely, like, I'm like tearing up thinking about it. He was dumped on the side of the road. He has a severe overbite. He's so sweet. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. He's so sweet, funny. He will just start barking at you for no reason. He's opened up a lot since we first got him. When we first got him, he was covered in ticks and fleas. He was just so scared. And we got him from a girl that I know. Oh my god, let me take off my glasses because I literally, oh my god, why am I like tearing up? Oh, we had him for a few days. We got him from a girl who he was dumped on her road and she couldn't keep him. And Aaron and I have been talking for like a year about getting another dog. It just like every time that we've talked about it, something has come up. And you know, taking on a new dog is a new responsibility, and it's also costly when it comes to vet visits and everything. But I feel like, you know, because I have a dog back home that is our like family dog, and he's a blue heeler. His name is Buck. He's the cutest little boy. He's getting old now. I think he's turning 9 this year. He's this sweetest little boy, and I love him so much. I love him so much. Right now, that's it. I'm wearing my glasses today, and I don't know how it's looking on camera. It looked fine earlier, but long story short, y'all, my contacts have been giving me, I got a new brand of contacts. Y'all don't care, but I'm going to say it. I got a new brand of contacts because I had to find a new eye doctor here in Arkansas, and I told him that I don't like the contacts that he gave me, and then he prescribed me like more of the same. And then also, y'all tell me if this makes sense. For a few years, I have like my vision's slowly starting to get worse. Very, very, very little like changes. But he told me that my prescription was too strong. And so he gave me contacts that was not as harsh as my prescription that I have been having. And I couldn't see because, of course, like that's not my prescription. And he was like, I just think this is a little too harsh. And I said, I understand, but like I'm wearing these contacts and I cannot see. Whatever. Whatever, I'll just like guess I won't see for the rest of my life. And I refuse to do LASIK. I've looked into it and then I've seen horror stories. I'm not going to do it. So I've had a few segments that people have said to me that I should do, and I'm trying some out, like by myself and seeing if I like it. So that should be coming soon, besides just like updates of my life for people who have no idea who I am. Y'all, this freaking Cracker Jacks thing is so good. Like, I can't get over it. And normally, I gotta be real, like really liquidy syrups that you can get, like the Tyranny. They're just not it. They're not the move. Did y'all hear that? That was my throat. Okay, let's get into the story, okay? Because, it's fine. We just gotta move on. So, let's get into today's story. So, I'm going to kind of discuss whenever I said in the introduction phrogging. It's not Phrogging. It is actually Phrogging. So, what this term is, it's used to describe someone who is living in another person's home without their permission. I don't want this term to be confused with squatting, which is basically a homeless person living in an abandoned place or even unabandoned places. But phrogging is almost like a game for some people, and although many people are homeless who do so, some people are not homeless and they do it for the fun and the thrill of it. And it's also temporary. People only do it for about 1 to 2 months at a time. You try to stay in someone's home who also occupies the home. It could be like a very nice modern day home, and you try to go unnoticed for as long as possible. I covered a case a couple years ago on True Crime Thursdays playlist. If y'all don't know what that is, y'all can go check it out. I have some other videos before I turn it into a podcast. And it revolved around the Denver Spider-Man in Colorado, who he lived in someone's attic and ended up murdering the elderly man that lived there whenever he was found. Although Theodore truly started the phrogging trend because this happened in the 40s, Daniel LaPlante has apparently coined the term phrogging and being the first person to frog. So phrogging still happens like to this day. There's somebody probably right now like phrogging in your house. I don't mean to freak you out, but it's like a thing, and it's more known to happen now. And there's also a movie called I See You or something. I think it's called I See You. I'll put a picture up now. This movie that's about phrogging, and it was actually really good. The twist at the end was really good. So let's talk about Daniel LaPlante though, and then talk more about phrogging later to explain kind of what happened as to why. This is a very crazy true crime case. It's actually like really chilling whenever you kind of really understand what created it, I guess, like what happened as to why. He ends up, obviously, as I said in the introduction, killing people, but he kind of toyed with people before he killed them. It's insane. So this case starts off in Townsend, Massachusetts in 1970 when Daniel LaPlante was born. Townsend was a very small town, only populating around 4,000 people near the big city of Boston. Daniel had a pretty traumatic and tragic childhood. Allegedly, Daniel suffered sexual, physical, and psychological abuse at the hands of his father and later on his psychiatrist during his teen years. This troubled childhood affected his life academically and socially. He was diagnosed with dyslexia early in his life, which caused him to be an outcast at his school, and he didn't have many friends. Most of his classmates referred to him as creepy, weird, a loner, and overall not really friendly. School officials wanted him to see a psychiatrist due to his developing abnormal behaviors and reluctance to his appearance and his hygiene. This, in comparison with his troubled home life, did not help his case at school. Besides his pedophilic abusive father, there was also no organization in his life. His house, on the inside and outside, was full of junk, and there were old cars in the yard. As Daniel started to see his psychiatrist, he was diagnosed with ADHD, just adding on to more mental trouble and stress. He had a troubled home life, school life, and now he has to deal with a psychiatrist who just diagnosed him with a disorder. Eventually, the psychiatrist who was there to help Daniel took advantage of him and started to make sexual advances on him. For 1 whole year, the psychiatrist would sexually abuse Daniel during the sessions. Daniel felt betrayed, of course, that a man who was supposed to help him and potentially be a father figure for him was adding to more trauma. By the age of 15, Daniel started to break into people's homes and steal their valuables, labeling himself as a small-time thief. By the age of 15, he was not only stealing items, but leaving items behind to mess with his victims. He would change something in someone's home to make it obvious that someone was there. He was now just invading homes for fun and mind games. In 1986, he had kind of fell into an obsession with a 15-year-old girl named Tina Bowen. Tina lived with her sister Karen and their father in the Pepperell area, close to Townsend. Somehow, Daniel had obtained the phone number from the home, but told Tina that he had been given the number by a friend at the same school. He told Tina that he was good-looking, athletic, well-educated, and blonde. And of course, we know that isn't true. After several phone calls between the two, they decided that they wanted to meet up on a date. Daniel showed up at the footstep of the home and was greeted by Tina, who had a look of pure shock on her face. Who he said on the phone was not him at all. She was greeted by not a tall, athletic blonde, but someone who had dark hair, was greasy, and no attractive features at all. Nevertheless, the two did go on their date at the local fair. During the date, Tina explained that their family had recently lost their mom to cancer. Daniel was kind of obsessed with this topic, and Tina thought that it was weird because he was kind of hyper-focused on the death of her mother. She said that Daniel was asking how she felt the moment her mom died and how long her mom had suffered for and how much. After only 1 hour, Tina explained that she wanted to return home, so the date was cut early. Tina did not want to see Daniel again, and she was just overall turned off by him and the date. One evening in 1986, Tina and Karen decided to use an Ouija board to attempt to contact their recently deceased mother. In their basement, it appeared that during the seance, they had no luck. Later that night, as the girls were sleeping, they heard a rhythmic knocking on their bedroom walls. The two sisters were excited as they believed that this had worked. They started speaking to their walls, confident that they were talking with their mother. Over the next several evenings, the knocking continued and it kept waking them up as they tried to sleep. Objects in the house started to disappear or furniture would be rearranged, and Tina and Karen fully convinced themselves that this was not their mother, but possibly a demon. On December 8th, Tina and Karen were alone in the living room when all of a sudden they heard the knocking again, only this time it was not coming from the walls. The sounds appeared to be coming from the basement. They waited a while to try and brush it off, but it continued and drove the two girls crazy. They grabbed kitchen knives and made their way down the basement to see what was going on. They stopped in horror as they saw a message written in blood red on the basement wall. It read, "I am in your room. Come and find me." Without hesitation, the two girls left the house and ran to a neighbor's home. Their father, Frank, returned home and they told him to go look at the basement wall. They were very distraught, but Frank did not believe them. He did not buy the fact that there was a potential spirit that they had summoned, and he believed it was just the girls' way of coping with the loss of their mother. Now that there was blood on the wall, he thought that it was actually Tina and Karen who wrote the blood on the wall. And I'm saying blood, I don't know if it was actually blood, it might have just been dark red paint. I'm just saying blood for drama, because also the articles that I read said blood as well. He forced his daughters to attend counseling due to their struggling grief. But several weeks later, the girls heard the knocking again, this time coming from Tina's bedroom wall. When they went into her room, again, there was a message written in blood red, "I'm back. Find me if you can." Isn't this so crazy? I'm like getting freaking freaked out. Frank placed the blame on Tina and Karen once again. His daughters called him from a neighbor's house to come home and told him what happened. Only this time, when Frank entered the home, there was more than what their daughters had claimed, which made it apparent that there was someone else inside the home. There was an additional message on the wall that said, "Marry me." As he turned to scope out the rest of the room, he was met by a young boy dressed in the clothing of Frank's deceased wife, wearing a blonde wig and holding a hatchet. As you could have guessed, it was Daniel LaPlante. Frank realized that his girls were right and there was someone else in their home all along. A fight broke out between the two and Daniel managed to escape, but almost without a sight. He had completely disappeared. Police were called to the home only to find that the message was written in ketchup, not blood. On December 10th, an officer discovered a hidden crawl space that was built into the wall of Tina's bedroom. This officer mentioned that on this wall, there was something written in a magic marker that read, "I'm still here, come and find me." On the opposite wall, there was a picture with a knife sticking out of it and another message that said, "I am going to kill you all." As he opened it, he discovered Daniel curled up inside. Officers pulled Daniel out of the crawl space and placed him under arrest. After further investigation, it was discovered that Daniel had been living inside of the walls of the house for what seemed to be months. There were peepholes dotted around the walls of the house for him to peep through as well. Daniel had been pretending to be the ghost of Tina and Karen's mother to torment them. As far as him wearing the mother's clothes, maybe he was going to dress up as her and terrify them further, except he wasn't expecting to be greeted with Frank. Daniel remained in a juvenile facility until October 1987, now 17 years old. His mother paid his $10,000 bail after remortgaging her home, but it didn't matter. Soon after his release, he returned to the life of burglary. Only a week after his release, on October 14, 1987, during one of his robberies, he stole 2 handguns from a home. On November 16th, he entered the home of a family of 4, but this time he did not steal anything. I'm not sure if it was to scope out anything or if it was just another one of his break-ins or if he was going to possibly frog, But he returned to this home on December 1st, 1987. Daniel broke into the Gustafson home that was only half a mile from his own home. There were 3 individuals in the home: pregnant wife Priscilla, age 33, and her 2 young children, Abigail, age 7, and William, age 5. The husband and father, Andrew, was at work at the time. This next part is really intense, so I just want to give a warning. Daniel entered the home and was not expecting the family to be there. He considered jumping out of a window, but instead, he confronted Priscilla with a gun and told her to get on the bed. Her son, William, he shoved into the closet of the bedroom and began tying Priscilla to the bed and gagged her with a sock. He began raping Priscilla, and after he was finished, he shot her twice in the back of the head. After this, Daniel grabbed young William out of the closet, brought him into the bathroom, and began to drown him. As he was leaving, Abigail had just entered the home from arriving home from school. He watched the yellow school bus drive away as he grabbed Abigail and brought her to a different bathroom to drown her as well. After this, he simply left and went to his niece's birthday party as if nothing had happened. Andrew returns home only to find a very gruesome scene. He noted that he tried calling his wife all afternoon. He spotted his wife face down on the bed with blood surrounding her head, died into the pillows. He immediately called the police. Police arrived only to find 2 more bodies, his young son and daughter in 2 separate bathrooms, also deceased. Andrew had told the police that he did not look for his children because he was scared that he would find them dead. Andrew was very distraught. He didn't know why, who would do this to his family. They had all been tragically murdered, and why? The police came to a very quick conclusion of who their suspect may be. There was a shirt and gloves left behind at the victim's home. Police used cadaver dogs to track the scent of the shirt and gloves, which led them to a nearby home. Additionally, there was only one person that they had come across in a long time breaking into people's homes with the potential of harming them, as they had just responded to a scene months earlier. A man who held a hatchet and tormented teenage girls with ketchup disguised as blood on the walls, Daniel LaPlante. A warrant was released for his arrest, only to find that Daniel had fled the area and a manhunt was quickly ensued. The police told the public to be on the lookout for a young male with dark hair, as he was considered to be armed and dangerous. In Pepperell, Daniel had broken into a woman's home and kidnapped her in her own vehicle. Somehow she managed to escape, but he was spotted by someone who had seen his face on the news. After a short police hunt, he was found hiding in a dumpster only 48 hours after the manhunt began. At the police station during inspection, a hair that belonged to 7-year-old Abigail Gustafson was discovered on Daniel's sock. Daniel's trial took place in 1988, where he was convicted of all 3 murders and was sentenced to life in prison. In 2017, Daniel requested to be released from prison after Massachusetts law went into effect that juveniles sentenced to life should be able to have the opportunity to re-enter society. During his sentencing, Daniel apologized for his actions, stating, quote, "Words cannot fully capture what I have done. I murdered 3 innocent people. Because of me, a 5-year-old boy will never turn 6, and a 7-year-old girl will never turn 8. Because of me, a woman will never be able to give birth to her 3rd child. I robbed an unborn child of his first breath. A husband was never able again to hear from his family say, 'I love you.' I do not have the words to fully express my profound sorrow, but I am truly sorry for the harm that I have caused. From the very essence of who I am, from the depth of my soul, I am sorry. However, a psychiatrist who evaluated Daniel said that he showed no empathy and minimized his behaviors. Andrew stated that he was plagued by nightmares from his family's murder until he passed from cancer in 2014. The judge found that he too believed that Daniel was not remorseful for his crimes. Instead, he kept Daniel's original sentence of life in imprisonment. After the new law goes into effect, he will not be eligible for parole for another 45 years. Daniel LaPlante is still alive to this day and resides in the Massachusetts Correctional Institution. This man pretty much started the trend of phrogging, which, keep in mind, it should not be a trend. It is very illegal and very anxiety-provoking. When I was researching this case, I was doing it at night like a dumbass. It just really sucked because I checked every corner of my house. I checked the attic. I checked, all of the closets on top of the shelves of the closets. And we don't really have tall ceilings. So you can easily tell if someone's been there. And I made sure that behind things, there was no hole that someone had possibly created to get into our house. It's the worst. That shit really scared me whenever I was doing the research for this. There are a few famous phrogging cases that I will be discussing for the end of the video so you can kind of understand what's going on. But yeah, so there are a lot of cases that are really scary. I'm going to give a summary of a few. So phrogging, again, it's the act of secretly living in someone's home without their knowledge, and it has led to several chilling and famous cases. Although there are many cases, these are some that kind of stuck out to me the most. So in 1941, this is the one of the Denver Spider-Man that I covered, but I'll give a quick summary. Theodore Coneys, later dubbed the Denver Spider-Man, lived in the attic of Philip Peters' home in Denver, Colorado. Coneys had been living there for several weeks, unbeknownst to Peters. He would come down when the house was empty to steal food. Peters eventually discovered Coneys, and he was killed and continued to live in the house while evading police detection for months. Another story that's really interesting was in 2008, a 58-year-old homeless woman was discovered living in the closet of a man's apartment in Japan. She had been residing there for over a year, unbeknownst to the homeowner, who became suspicious after noticing food missing from his kitchen. He installed security cameras and was shocked to find footage of the woman emerging from the closet while he was away. Another one that took place in Ohio, pretty recent. In 2013, students at Ohio University discovered a man living in the basement of their off-campus house. The intruder had been living there for some time, even though the house had been rented out to new tenants. The students found evidence of the man's presence, including food and other personal items, leading to his eventual discovery and eviction. One of them, another one that was really recent in 2019, was the Campbell family from Pennsylvania found a stranger living in the attic of their home. The intruder had been living there for weeks and was discovered after the family heard strange noises and noticed items in their home out of place. The man was eventually apprehended by the police. One of the main reasons why I know about this was that movie that I had mentioned earlier, and then also there was a famous video that possibly everyone has seen of this lady. There was a guy and a girl living in an apartment, and he kept joking with the girl saying, hey, I know that you're stealing food in the middle of the night. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he set up a camera in hopes of trying to prove to her, I know that you're taking food out of this. I'm just trying to do it as a joke. And he caught something way more horrifying. And it was this lady who was living in the attic space, I guess, of this apartment. And I don't know if it's an apartment or what, but she crawls out of this vent and she steps down on their little 2-person dining room table, and then she goes over and drinks milk from the fridge, pees in the sink, and then goes back up. That one's wild to me, and that one freaks me out the most. There's so many other cases that I could add, but this one just kind of ends really horrific, besides also the Denver Spider-Man, which I've already covered. There's a few other ones that are pretty intense, but this would be 3 hours long. This one just kind of, because he kind of coined the term, even though Theodore Coneys really did start the trend, I guess. Not a trend. I hate saying that word. You know what I mean. If y'all like this type of story, let me know and I can go in depth more on different Phrogging cases and talk about other cases, revolved around Phrogging. And I guess, if that's something that y'all are interested in and y'all like this kind of story, just let me know and I will do another video on it. But yeah, so these cases that I've talked about, specifically the Daniel LaPlante case, really highlight how unsettling the trend of Phrogging is, because that's your home. Someone's invading your home, and it's just, I couldn't imagine just like having someone live in my house without me knowing, just for fun. And they're not even homeless. Sometimes they are, but it's just like a game. You're just seeing how long you can go. Ugh, it's really insane to me. So yeah, I appreciate y'all listening as always. If you are on Apple Podcast, if you are on Spotify, whatever platform you're listening on for this podcast, please rate this and leave a review. If you are on YouTube here for the visuals, for the people who do audio only, if you'd like to see the visuals, I do have videos on YouTube that you can come over as well. And if you are listening on YouTube and watching, please be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I appreciate you so much. I will have my email listed in the description, so that way y'all can leave case suggestions if y'all would like to. I have a lot of cases, but if that's something you want to hear, I am more than happy to do the research for it and give you what you want. I do cults, conspiracies, true crime cases, unsolved, anything like that, urban legends, anything kind of weird and creepy. So thank you so much for listening. Take a shot for how many times I said that, okay? Anyways, I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.